Today, I want to discuss how to create like God does. I believe that it's not only enough to share the secrets, but it's also important to teach people how you get to a solution, right? There are some people who say, I know the secret, I have the secret, but the best person is not the one who shows you how to do something per se, but someone who shows you how you knew yourself to do something. So it's the difference between giving someone fish versus teaching someone how to fish. And that's the goal that I want to accomplish in this session. I have shared a lot about the principles of creation, but I want to go ahead and show you where I got this from. So I'm excited. This is going to probably take 15 to 30 minutes. I won't take your time, but I know this is going to be time worth spent and invested into. So as you can see on the screen, the principles of creation that I discovered are as follows. So there's the principle of specification, which we spent time looking into on day number 1. We looked at why you need to specify the problem, why you need to specify your niche, your domain, your territory, the place that you want to affect and effect. And then, obviously, we didn't talk about curiosity. We did speak a bit about communication in the 4 levels of value. We didn't really speak about distinction, or we spoke a little bit about delegation, but we didn't touch scale and multiplication, nor did we talk about the principle of resting. But here's the question. How did I come up with all of this? Is all this information from my head? The answer is I'm going to show you exactly where I got the information from. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay, I am ready as
Yes.
well. Now, here's what's funny, guys. Here's what's funny. I did not come up with any of this information. I did not come up with any of it. All the information that I'll be sharing, that I've been sharing, in fact, all the information of what I share, even in my coaching sessions or helping people and all that, it's based on the Bible. Now, some are like, really? Like, how is that possible? The Bible? Yes, the Bible. It's based on the Bible because the Bible, contrary to popular opinion and belief, is not necessarily a book about religion, like a book of things you must do and must not do. That's not really the focus of the Bible. The Bible, really at the heart of it, is a book about principles. It's a book about laws. It's a book about how the universe works. In fact, the Bible is so important that it's the only book that accurately, forgive my handwriting, accurately describes the beginning of the world. Because the Bible talks about how the world began, the Bible must also have a lot to say about what is the world, what is life, what is reality, how does reality work? Because the Bible talks about reality and how reality was created. So anyways, I spent time looking at the Bible to find these principles, and one of the major reasons for that was this. For those who read the Bible, who know the Bible, or who have an upbringing of faith, it is common sense that, let's begin from a simple definition. Not God. Let's use something simplistic and say the universe, which means the world and everything in it, the universe did not create itself. So when you look around, mountains, snow, you see all these things. Snow didn't make itself. Somebody made or created snow. So that's the basic premise that we begin with. And if you want to bring it down to the things you can touch, if you look at your phone, the phone you're using to join this Zoom, or the earphones you're using, the in this case I'm using a tablet, I'm using a pen, it would be absurd for me to say that it made itself. Something complicated as the universe, or something complicated as you and me, cries out for someone else above us, above the material that we have, who makes it. So the person who makes the computer, let me simplify this for us. The person who makes the computer is outside, or must be outside of the computer. The person who makes the computer cannot be inside the computer. So the person who makes the computer cannot be inside the computer. He has to be outside of the computer. I'm saying all this to say this. I'm saying all this to say this, that since, if we all agree and if we all accept, since God, who is this someone outside of the computer, someone outside of us, since God created the universe, so that's heaven and earth and everything inside, since God did this, he is by default the he's the goat, as they say. He's the greatest of all times. He is the greatest, in this case, greatest creator of all times. So if God is the greatest creator of all times, if God is the greatest composer of all times, then it follows that if you want to create, if you want to compose, why not, here's the question, why not use his blueprint? Blueprint means, why not using his formula? Why not using his strategy? Because clearly God did not create without blueprint, without formula, without strategy. How do I know that? Here's how I know that. I know God didn't create without formula because when you read Genesis 1, which talks about how God created, the book is very, or the chapter is very intentional. In fact, not only is it intentional, it's hyper intentional, meaning it's too detailed. It gives so many details. Why does it give so many details? To show us that God had a plan. In Genesis, patterns. Patterns are how things follow each other, right? So, for example, if I had really, pattern simply means something that repeats. An example of the pattern we find in Genesis is every day after God creates, he says, and it was good. So this is a pattern. If he does this every day, it's a pattern. And if it's a pattern, it only means that he has a strategy that he's using in creating, which I am saying that if you want to create, like, if you want to actually make an impact as far as creation is concerned, then God has given us the blueprint. If we use the blueprint that he used in Genesis, if we use the strategy that he used, we are going to actually create like he does. But here's the other reason why I believe this is important. Not only is God the greatest creator of all times, not only is he the GOAT, the greatest artist of all time, or the greatest of all time, but God also made us in his image. Oh, so that means that because God made us in image, he made us in the image that we too are by design. And really by default, we are creators as well. So this is where I get the statement to say that we are created to create. All right. So this is just me sharing the introduction to all of this. So far, does anybody have a question before I jump right into the meat of the hour?
No.
Okay. We good so far. Awesome. I love it. Now, let's get to the issue here. So I'm going to do something I've never done before. I'm going to be sharing literally the secrets that I found from Genesis 1. The book that I have, How to Create Like God, How to Create Like God Does, is actually based on Genesis and obviously some parts of the Bible as well, but mainly on Genesis. What I'm going to be doing today is almost really sharing my entire book in 15 minutes. I'll be sharing the whole book in 15 minutes. So I hope you're ready to receive the information I'm going to share. I'll try to be brief. I won't overwhelm you, I promise. But I believe this is really important information that everybody needs to know. So I'll go verse by verse and I'll just be commenting on each verse and sharing the insights from that verse that I got as I was doing my research and study. So Genesis 1:1 says, "In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth." So the let me just do this here. There we go. So there are many things we can pull up from that verse, but the first thing that comes up is that primarily when you hear of God, you must understand that God is a creator. Primarily, God is a creator, right? It doesn't say that in the beginning God loved or God did this and did that. The first thing that God talks to us about himself is that he is a creator. In fact, if you read the entire Bible, you find that God takes pride in the fact that he's the creator. For example, he says, "I am God, there's no one else. I'm the one who created the heaven and the earth. I'm the God of the heaven and the earth." If you read Revelation, it says that God is worthy of worship because all things were created by him, right? And all things are because of him. So like God being creator is like very important. God is a creator. And by design, we also should be creative. So God gives us his creativity. Creativity is part of what it means to be like God. And obviously, it is from this verse that we also find out that God is very specific, that God defines he defines his domain. Like he's only dealing with heaven and earth. There could be other things. Like he's not telling us about like other galaxies or other places. The universe is so huge. It cannot be like when I say universe, I'm not talking about just heaven and earth. There is other things outside of heaven and earth, but God is specific to say I'm focusing on heaven and earth. And this is important for creators and entrepreneurs to say, I'm going to be specific. I'm going to focus on this type of business. I'm going to focus on this type of work. I'm going to focus on this type of career. So, like, focusing is super important, right? And this is what we get from Genesis 1:1, the principle of specification or having a domain. We went through this, so I don't want to spend much time on that. And then obviously, I guess I could say my favorite, verse 2 goes over how the earth was without form, no, it's empty, void means empty, darkness was everywhere, and all that. The principle we learned from this, or we learned from this, is that you need to specify the problem. God did not jump from here to creating, he actually stopped here. God stopped here. And the reason why he stopped is because he had to, if we could just write it here or above, God had to specify the problem first. And this is the second principle, which I won't spend much time into because you guys already know. You already know if you're here last time. Specify the problem first, not last, but first. Do not be trapped into the, I guess let's call it, do not be tempted to provide solutions without understanding the problems. Do not provide solutions without understanding the problem. Okay? So that makes sense. And then obviously, whatever solution you create, it must be able to solve the void. It must be able to fill the emptiness. It must be able to remove the darkness. Darkness could mean something bad, something ugly, or something painful. So if you can't solve this, then what are you creating for? And this is where we get the main principle to say that we don't create for the sake of creating. We don't create just for the sake of. Right? You don't create a business or a product just because you want to. No, you create to solve a problem, which is why our creation at the deepest level is an act of love. Because you're saying, my brother, my sister has a problem. I'm going to think about it, not just once, but maybe every day for the next 30 days until I find a solution. And this is the next part that I never really highlighted as far as specifying the problem is involved, is you have to be willing to follow this principle here. It's funny that when you, after this session, whenever you read the Bible, everything is going to be a principle. So watch this. The Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. You might think, oh, why is that written there? Why is that important? But that's really important because as far as creativity is concerned, once you have specified the problem, you must be willing to face the problem, to move into the problem. Move into it. You must be willing to investigate the problem, if that makes sense. Investigate. Because here's what's funny. Let's say I want to help people with, I think there's someone who wants to join, someone can let them in, or I can do it myself. There we
I
go.
did it already.
You did? Okay, thank you so much. All right. And
You're
please,
welcome.
if you guys are enjoying this, invite your friends because this is going to change their life for the rest of their lives. But anyways, here you investigate the problem to say, okay, maybe I want to create a new phone. I don't like the iPhone. I don't even like Samsung. I want to create a new phone that has never existed before. That's what you think is you think that's a good solution. Or you might say, I think phones have too much light, right? Phones have too much light and it kills people's eyes. So I want to create a solution to help people protect their eyes. That's what you think is the problem. But is it what they think is the problem? So this is why you need to investigate. Whenever you've identified something you want to solve, you must be able to investigate to say, is what I'm thinking true? Is what I'm seeing true actually? So this breaks down into whenever before you start any business, any creating any YouTube, anything, you have to do primary research. Primary research is when you ask people themselves, "Hey guys, I want to do this." Or actually don't even tell them what you want to do. Forget about that. That's starting from solution. Go to the people and ask them, "Hey, you like to use your phone a lot. What problems do you face when you're using your phone?" And then they'll tell you, "You know what? My biggest problem with the phone is like every when I wake up in the morning, that's the first thing I want to use. I feel addicted to my phone." Oh, now we have whole new problem. People are not so concerned about the light from the phone, but people are concerned about being addicted to the phone. So now you have a new problem. So let's say when you ask these people and they tell you, maybe 20 of them or 50 of them give you the problem of addiction to their phone, and only one tells you about the eye problem. Which problem are you going to solve after that? It has to be the one that people themselves have said, not the one you think you see. Even if you may feel like, oh, this is actually so important to me, I want to help people protect their eyes, but you have to speak to the void, right? So primary research is important. And obviously, secondary research. Secondary research is where you go and you search what's already online, what people have already published, what other studies say. And from that, you can make a conclusion to say, based on the statistics, let's say 50% of people don't like reading books in general. Okay, so I'm going to create a solution. The solution is going to be creating an audio version of books. And that's how Audible is born, because Audible wasn't always there. There was a time when if you wanted to read a book, you had to actually read a book. But now you can find a book online, you can read the audio version of the book. And by the way, if you guys want the access to the book, How to Create Like God, you have to join the WhatsApp group and I'll give you access to the book. There are some conditions. We're going to discuss that later. But so far, this is pretty powerful. You have to face the problem. You should be the master of the problem. There must be no one who can explain the problem better than you. The problem that you want to solve, anyways. All right. If you can master that, then you have the confidence, the ability, and the competence to say, let there be light. Let there be light means let there be the solution. Let there be the solution that you have. Let there be the product that you want to create. Let there be the service because you understand the problem. And obviously, then there is light or there is the solution. I won't spend much time on that. I need to move fast here, as you can see. God saw the light, that it was good. God divides the light from the darkness. So from here, we see two main prominent principles. The first principle is the principle of, as a creator, right? Even as a businessman or woman, you need to train yourself to see the good in what you do. See the good, right? It's easy to criticize yourself and say, oh, I don't like, really, is anybody going to like this? But no, if you believe you're actually following the principles and you're solving the problem, then don't worry about how it looks or how it feels. Worry about, does it actually solve the problem? If it solves the problem, then see the good. Every day when God creates, he sees whatever he creates and he says, it was good. It was good. And I think this is what we miss as creators, because many times when we create, we're like, no, it sucks. It's not good. I don't think it's going to do it. You need to have the confidence to say it's good. Here's what's funny, guys. Here's what's funny. When God creates, he doesn't ask any of the angels. He doesn't ask any of the angels, hey, angels, what do you think? Isn't that funny? Like, he doesn't ask any of the angels. Angels, can you give me some? What do you guys think I should do? No, because God knows what he's doing. God understands that he's solving a problem. And although feedback is important, yeah, feedback is nice, but be careful of feedback, because not everybody who gives feedback actually wants to feed you. Right? Some people are just criticizing and just being mean and just being envious, right? Because you're making progress, right? So the feedback that's important, and this is funny as well, is your feedback. What do you say about your product? Not what do others say. Yes, they can say whatever they say, but what do you say? What do you stand on? What do you say about your YouTube channel? What do you say about you? And this is important because now you have to understand who you are, that you're not just some random guy in the street, but that you're created in the image of God and that you were created to create. And so long as you are in contact with your creator, that you can actually go ahead and say, yes, I've created something. I've made a video on YouTube. It's on YouTube. And when I look at it, I say, it is good. It is good because it solves the problem, right? Okay, there's another principle I want to highlight, which is the principle of, I call it the principle of distinction. So obviously, when God creates, he divides the light from the darkness. This is important. To divide means to distinguish, to make separate, to show that one is able to stand independently. And this is where you ask yourself the big question, which is, how do I stand out from the crowd? There's 1,000 YouTube channels. There's billions and billions of businesses in the world. How does yours stand out? And the answer is found in you. Like, you are the difference. You are the difference. You are the only part of the process that cannot be replicated. Yes, you can create even an AI robot that speaks like James, but there's only one James. And there's only one you. So you are the difference, which is why you are very important in this creative process. So whenever you create your product, whenever you create your business, whenever you create whatever it is that you want to create, make sure that you bring you to the table. You bring yourself forward, because God has put something in you, specifically in you, that he hasn't put in anyone else. And God is waiting for you to reveal his character, to reflect his image in a way that nobody else can. And this is why when God loses one person, it actually is so painful for him, because it's not like he can just recreate you again. It's like, you are that unique, you are that special. And when you know that, you can be able to stand on the world's platform, whether it be on YouTube, whether it be on TikTok, whether it be on TEDx, whether it be on a stage with the thousands or millions, and you tell them, my name is James, and this is what I bring to the table, and you can't find it anywhere else. So please do not try to copy anyone else. What makes your business unique is you. And if you spend time trying to copy others, trying to mimic others, then who's going to become you? We are missing you if you're busy trying to fulfill other people. Where are you? Which reminds me the question God asked Adam. He said, where are you? It's like, where are you? Something is missing here, because Adam wanted to be something that God did not make him to be. And obviously the rest is history. So be who God calls you to be, yourself. That is the greatest business move. In fact, one more bonus here on this principle is, when you're studying business and all that, if you look at the research and the trends right now, personal branding is the way to go. Personal branding is key. It's better for you to create a business under your name, let's say James Nyomuka, that's my personal brand, versus me creating some like bananas.com. I don't know how I came up with that. Bananas.com versus James Nyomuka, which one is more relatable to people? People connect with people. So the closer you get to people, the more you can, the most perfectly you can impact people. Here's what's funny too. Give me any example of a company that is famous right now or that is doing well.
Amazon.
Amazon, right? When you hear Amazon, what comes to your head, to your mind right away? What name comes?
The owner of the Amazon.
What's the name?
Lex
I don't
Luthor.
know.
Who? Okay, I didn't know that name. But for me, when I hear Amazon, what comes to my mind is Jeff Bezos. That's what I hear, right? When I hear Apple, even today, I still think of Steve Jobs. And the reason why that's important is because Steve Jobs and Jeff realized that although they have this corporate company, people are not connected to corporate companies. They need to create personal brands, create personal connections with people. And this becomes low key the name that actually perpetuates even after they're gone. It's a personal brand. Another interesting thing about personal brands is these big brands that do well too, most of them are last names because it's not about one person, it's about the family. We can get into that as we go down here in the principles. But I want to finish this. I want to finish what I've started. God calls the light day, darkness he calls night. This is the principle of naming, all right? Or branding. You need to be able to name, give a name to your game, give a name to your company, to your, who are you? Give yourself a name, brand yourself. A name could mean, we could go into the details, but really this means you need to have that branding done, right? I won't go deeper than that. God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters. Okay, we skip that, and we skip that, too. We skip that, and we go to verse 11. I'm only skipping because if I go through all of them, then I'm gonna sleep here tonight. We don't wanna sleep on Zoom. God said, let the earth bring forth grass. Isn't that interesting? On the first day, God said, let there be. But for the first time, he says, let the dash do dash. Isn't that an interesting pattern? Let there be light, let there be dash, versus let the dash create or do dash. Am I speaking English or what? Please tell me if you can understand the English or if I'm using another language. But here's why this is important. God, for the first time, is teaching us the principle of delegation. That within the creative economy, creative process, it's not enough to say, let there be this, but you must be able to use other things to create other things. You must be able to delegate, to say, the earth is going to do this, so delegate. And if we pull this principle into present day application, we learn that you cannot do anything alone. You must be able to delegate. Whether you're going to delegate people or you're going to delegate systems, in this case, there's a system application where God is using a system of the earth, which is going to generate the grass or vegetation. Because God did not say, let there be vegetation, although he could have just as easily. So why does he say the earth bring forth? Because he's teaching a principle of delegation and of system operations, how systems must work together. So God says, earth, do this. For us as creators, we need to have systems. And this is something that I'm actually very passionate about this year. In the book, How to Create Like God, I talk about principles. I talk about patterns. I talk about all these big ideas that I'm sharing here. But in the next edition of the book, I want to spend time talking about systems. A system is something that's set in place such that it's just automatic the entire time. System is principles in action. Most of us know that it's not good to work alone, but how do you work with other people? What system do you use? And so I'll be sharing that in the upcoming book at the end of this year. But for now, you need to delegate. There's a statement that says by one of the Jewish rabbis who says, to go higher, this is my own version anyways, to go higher, you must hire someone, right? You must delegate. Even if you're so good at, let's say you're a video editor, you're so good at video editing, but for some reason you feel called to do speaking. The best thing you can do in that case is find someone else to do video editing for you and focus on speaking. Because if you want to speak and then do video editing yourself, it won't allow you to experience that full delivery and have the impact that you'd like to have. So delegation, that's the principle there. Now we go here, and the earth brought forth grass, the herb yielding seed after his kind. This is a principle that I've actually discovered recently. It's the principle of after his kind, which it's not really a principle, although it is a principle that, how do I say this? Okay, let me read the verse again, and then I'm going to share in a more calm way. Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, keyword is seed there, the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was. So here's what's interesting. I think the correct name is to call this the principle of the seed. The seed is a powerful organism, really. It's a living organism whose life is within itself. It's a seed. The seed is interesting because there's a statement that says anyone can count how many seeds are in an apple, right? But only God can count/tell how many apples are in a seed. This is quite interesting. I didn't know there were apples in a seed. Yes, there's apples in the seed, and that's because of the principle of seed. That really, what you need as a creator is not fruit. You don't need fruit. You don't need fruit. All you need is seed. Once you have the seed, the rest is history. So don't focus on, I want to have 20,000 subscribers, 100,000. All that is fruit. Don't focus on, I want to buy a nice house and a nice car. I want to buy a Bentley or a Tesla or this. All those are fruits. Focus on the seed. So the way I put it, my quote on this would be, don't focus on the fruit. Only worry about becoming the seed. Because once you become the seed, the fruit is just a matter of time. What does it mean to become the seed? To become the seed means to, I guess we can go into some, is it biology or is it botany, the study of plants? One day we're going to do a video on the seed and break it down deeply. But for now, all I'll say is this, that if you look at the seed, it has obviously, what seed is that? Anyways, it has the outer core. There's the embryo, which contains all the nutrients and all that. So these are the ingredients you need to have for you to be a successful creator. As far as we are concerned, what is the real seed that we have? If you take orange has an orange seed. All the information about that orange is found within that seed. So it's more like the DNA of that orange, right? And so as creators, we need the DNA of success. What is the DNA of success? What is the seed of success? That seed of success is found somewhere here. I'm going to share with you one moment. It is found not there. It is found in verse number 26. This is the seed, guys. And God said, let us make man in our image. That is the seed. Once you have this seed, which is God's image, then your success is guaranteed, because when God created the vegetables after their kind, like everything is after their kind. Even here, it says, and God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, meaning it's after the kind of the beast. So the beast can only produce beast, which disproves evolution, by the way, because using these principles, a cat will always produce a cat, a cow will always produce a cow, right? Cattle after their kind, and all that after their kind. And God saw that it was good. However, when it comes to man, it does not say that God created man. It doesn't say that God did not create man after man. God did not create man after man, but he did create cow after cow, right? God created, and actually, when I discovered this, I made a statement to say the term mankind does not exist. The reason why it doesn't exist is because man was not made after the kind of man. Man was made after God kind. So man is God kind because he's made in the image, not of man, but in the image of God. And this dilutes the deception that the devil wants us to have in our heads, to think, oh, we are actually lesser than. We should look to become like gods, which is the temptation he gives to Adam and Eve. He tells, if you eat this, you're going to be like God. But what they're not realizing is they've already been made to be like God. So the devil is telling them to focus on, here's how I put it. The devil, and this is what the devil is going to do for you as well. The devil will convince you to go searching for what you already have. And when he does that, he knows that he has you on a cycle. He has you on a cycle, and before you're going to turn cycle, it's going to mess your mind up because you're chasing after something you never get because you already have it. So Adam wants to be like God, but God has already made him in his image. So what exactly are you looking for, Adam? But all this to say this, that the seed that we need is the image of God. His likeness is the seed. His word is the seed, in fact. His principles is the seed. And once you have the word in your life, the principles in your life, then success is inevitable, because the word does what it does. What does the word do? Well, everything was created by the word. In the beginning was the word, and the word was with God, and the same, nothing was made without the word, right? So once you have the word or the principles, then the word actually will work for you. What does the word say? The word say, for example, as a principle, it says, this is a simple principle that if you apply, you'll be amazed how it works. Giving, it's a principle, is more blessed than receiving. You know what that means? It doesn't matter who it is. Anybody who gives is rewarded more than the one who receives. And you find that people who don't give can never be wealthy, can never have. Because if you want to actually be healthy and happy and wealthy even, you must learn to give. It's a principle. So if you are broke, how do you solve broke? Start by giving. Give what you have and you'll be amazed. Give the service. Be curious in helping other people and see what happens to you. It's a principle. Once you apply it, etc., etc. So does that make sense so far, or it does not make sense?
It's really amazing. I'm learning a lot.
Awesome. I'm glad you are. I'm also learning a lot because learning never ends. And they say that the best way to learn is to teach. But anyways, God creates man in his image. In the image of God creates he them. Male and female, he creates them. So you have a male and female, which is an interesting conversation we can go into and why that is important. But for now, we're getting to the end, guys, and then I'm going to let you go and see what you do with all this information. God blessed them, and God says to them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth, subdue it. This is a powerful principle. I think this is the most neglected principle when it comes to creativity or even life in general. When God says be fruitful and multiply, it's not a suggestion. This is a mandate for all creators, for all creatures, creature creators. Go out there, be more, do more, and have more. That's the simple summary of it. You have to first be more, have more of my seed within you, have all my word within you, have more of my character within you, be more. But then after you've been more, then it's going to enable you to do more of the things I love, do more of good to your fellow neighbors. And after that, you can have more. That's actually, by the way, the formula of how these things works. You have to become the person, like I was telling you have to be the seed. Once you become the seed, then you can do what the tree does, that particular type of tree does. Once you do, you can actually have, right? You have to be willing to be fruitful and multiply. Do not be satisfied with where you are right now. Yes, be content, like that's for sure. Be content, but do not be complacent. You have to learn to multiply. You have to love to grow. And then here's the word that we don't like, but really God has given this word freely, have dominion. Like, especially like for those who believe the Bible, like God is not calling you to be weak and to be incompetent or to be lazy. God is calling you to have dominion everywhere. This dominion is not just when you go to church. No, this is everywhere. Okay, I'm not making this up, by the way. It's actually here in this reading, in this Bible that we are reading here. Dominion over the fish of the sea. So if you want to be scientific and geeky, we can say, God is saying, have power over fish of the sea. So this is, let's call it oceanography, right? Over the ocean, right? Over the ocean and over the fish. And then over the fowl of the air. So have dominion over obviously fowl, but I'm focusing on air. So that would be over the atmosphere, right? And then what else? Over every living thing so that's land, that's on the earth. Like, how clear should God get that he wants you and I to have global dominion? Isn't it not clear in this verse that God wants for Adam and by default for you and me to actually have a global impact? Some people think, oh no, global impact? No, I just want to help my little city and town. Like the whole world? No, it's too big. If you want to create at the scale and scope of God, then you need to adopt this principle to say God wants you to be fruitful and multiply and have dominion at a global level, have impact at a global level, help people at a global level. Now, it doesn't mean you need to stretch yourself thin and do things you can't do. No, it only shows you where God wants you to go. And for you to get here, it's going to need you to learn the principles. It's going to need you to learn the principle of delegation, that you cannot do this alone, that you need a team, that you need people, that you need to be like Abraham. When God called Abraham, he didn't tell him, Abraham, I'm just calling you so that you can be my my darling, my best friend. That's not what he says. He says, I'm calling you because through you, right, I want all the families of the earth to be blessed. And this applies to you and me because we are also Abraham's seed if we have faith. We too are called not to just impact ourselves or our family, although our family is actually the primary thing we need to focus on, but we need to know that God has called you to impact nations, generations. When you think like that, it changes how you do business. It changes how you create. Like, creation is no longer just for fun. Creation is a divine mandate. A simple thing as posting on social media becomes something that you do seriously, knowing that you're actually changing people's lives. All right? Okay. I think this is the end, is it not? I'm going to entertain questions. But obviously, after God creates, he says, and behold, it was very good. And I want you to reach at a place where after a year, after 3 months, after 7 days, actually, here's what I believe. At the end of every week, you must be able to say this. To say, That was very good. What I created, the people I've helped, the lessons I've learned, that was very good. Anyways, I'll stop here. Questions. I open the floor for questions. Anything you want me to clarify? This is our last group session. Anything after this is going to have to be one-on-one. You have till Jan 31st to claim your free session with me. These sessions cost roughly $300 per hour. I'm giving it away for free because giving is better than receiving. That's a principle I'm applying. However, that principle has a limit. But up until Jan 31st, you can get this for free. After that, it's going to have to be paid. So please go to the website. What's the website? neothegreatest.com/services. And then you can find the free session. It's called Level Up Free Session. Book a session with me. I'll be happy to help. Also, up until Jan 31st, you can claim, and I guess this is those of you who go through the sessions anyways, or even not, you can claim access to my book, How to Create Like God Does, where I discuss everything I've said here, but in a deeper detail and with a more direct application as well. So it's your time to ask questions or share something.
May I have a question?
Sure. What's the question?
My question is, so you said you tell us how to create like God does. So you said in the beginning, God he created heaven and earth,
Mm-hmm.
and then God he didn't ask any of his angel how to do things because
Right.
he knows what he was doing. And then you said you can't copy other people business. So my question is, what happens if you look like, let's say example, McDonald's, we don't have McDonald's in Tanzania, Burundi. So you came here, look example how they do at McDonald's, and then you go back to Africa, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe you change the name, but still the same business. Like, it's not gonna, is it bad idea?
It's not a bad idea. So McDonald's, as far as I'm concerned, is a system. Although obviously
Mm-hmm,
it's built by the person. I don't know his name. Maybe it's McDonald's. It is actually a name, but it's a system because they have a recipe and they have
mm-hmm,
how they make their food and stuff. But here's the issue.
mm-hmm,
Here's the issue. Back to the issue of understanding your time space for you to create matter, which is the principle I shared, the formula I shared in the previous sessions. You need to understand the time, also need to understand space. The reason why McDonald's did so well is because it came at the right time. If someone was to recreate McDonald's today, it wouldn't work. Why? People now are more conscious about health. People want to eat healthier and stuff, but McDonald's does not prioritize health. Like, what's their motto? What's McDonald's motto or statement or tagline? Does anybody know?
okay.
I don't use McDonald's, but I guess I can cheat. Nobody knows on the line. Nobody has used. Have you went to their store? What does it say on their store? On their
It's not
whatever
the
restaurant?
it's not the
On
letter M.
McDonald's,
Yeah,
I did work there.
you did. So what's their motto
Actually, to be
or
honest,
slogan? Slogan.
they
What's their
don't like.
slogan? I found it. I'm
Uh,
loving it.
I think I'm loving it.
I'm loving it. Has nothing to do with health. Their goal is you have to love it, whether it's good, whether it's bad, right? So if you bring it up today, people will be like, no, I want to know the ingredients. Is it healthy for me? Space is also important. There are some people who don't care. There are some people who care. So if you brought this to Africa, of course, it might work in some cases. But what I advise always is do what McDonald did. McDonald did not just wake up one day and created McDonald. No, he sat and said, okay, what do these people want? What do they need? In fact, if you guys think I'm lying, because some people think I lie, do you guys think I'm lying? Let's do a quick example here. The history of McDonald, right? The history of McDonald's, right? Okay, allow. Oh, this is on their website. No, I didn't want from them. I want from someone that's not them. Wikipedia. Okay. So McDonald's family, it's a family, by the way, which is something I want to explore further in the future here. The power of having a family brand, which is actually God's design and principle. If you read Genesis, because Abraham has a business and then he passes on to his son Isaac, and then Isaac does the same to Jacob. Like it's all family, right? Anyways, move from Manchester, etc., etc. How did it come about? Give me something. Give me something. Okay, so the McDonald's brothers opened their first restaurant on May 15, 1940. Originally, a car hop drive-in system was used, so they tried different experimentations in the first place. The initial menu items were centered around barbecue, and the first name was McDonald's Famous Barbecue. In 1948, the McDonald brothers realized, so they learned something, that most of their profits derived from the sale of hamburgers. So that, oh, we get more sales from hamburgers. Okay, then let's focus on hamburgers. So they shattered their successful, etc., etc. You guys get the point. What I wanted to know was, maybe it should be here in the first paragraph here. Began working as I said, movers. Okay. Anyways, I think that's enough for context. But the point I wanted to make there was this, that McDonald's is born out of understanding time and space. Space means your audience, space means your customers. So if you're in Africa, don't give them McDonald's. Ask yourself, what do they want first? Which is the question that Jesus asked everybody he meets. What do you want? And then once you found out what they want, then you can give them. Or you can do what McDonald's did, try with experimentation. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, open a McDonald's, do a franchise. Does it work? However, the thing is, God is not calling us to create franchises necessarily. Nothing wrong with that. But God has something special for you. God has something for you. Like he's not in the business of franchising. There's something you have that you need to do and become. So even within McDonald's, yes, every McDonald's has something similar, but not every McDonald's is exactly the same necessarily, right? There's always that uniqueness to a certain particular location and how they serve you, although they try to have a uniform way of serving people. But to your question, there's nothing wrong with that type of copying because you are not copying a person. Don't copy the person, like how they speak, how they act. You are copying a system, and system supersedes person. System is what works regardless of the person. So I actually admire that. If you've seen something that's working out there, for example, someone online, let's say you want to make money, and you know that let's say if you write a book and sell it, you can see that it makes money, then go ahead and copy the system. But when you write, don't copy his title. Or when you open your McDonald's, let's say you want to do your own, don't copy their recipe because all that is going to backfire. Find out a perfect recipe for, imagine an African version of McDonald's where now when people come, you don't as you. Anyways, before I keep going on forever, does that answer your question?
Yes, that was good answer. But I have another one is like similar,
Sure.
the same thing. So me, like I'm a construction worker, so I learn a lot by watching other people things like how they do things. So that means like I'm copying them or
No,
I'm learning
no.
a lot.
So you're not copying them. You are copying what works. You're copying systems and principles, right? Copying them will be
Okay.
to say, I will do exactly as they do. For example, I'll give you a perfect example of copying, right? I'm a content creator, right? I don't know, people can argue, but I think I have an African accent, right? There's a way I speak, right? I don't speak like a Canadian per se. Here's what copying means. Copying would mean whenever I do my video, I start to speak English in a way that's not like me. Like I try to say words to make them feel more Canadian or like feel more American, something that's not me. So if you find yourself doing something that's not, and something that you really don't want to be anyways, then you are copying. You are hoping that if you wear a certain type of clothing, that doesn't fit who you are, that's when people are going to accept you. That's coping. You're not being who you are, right? I hope that answers your question.
Yes. Thank you.
Awesome. Do you have any other question before we close tonight?
No.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Let me just share my website here. Let me advertise myself for a moment. So the website I was talking about is Near the Greatest Services here, nearthegreatest.com. And if you come to the homepage, obviously what I do is I am here to 100x your success. And if you can book a session with me, we're going to go over the principles in a more practical way. This ends today. The level up sessions ends today. However, I am working on recreating Near the Greatest Network, which is going to be a community of people around the globe, really, starting with Canada because we're in Canada. But this is going to be a global movement of people who do business from a biblical perspective, anyways, who have Bible at the center of their business, because we all believe that God is the greatest businessman there ever was. So, anyways, and the other thing I want to share is here when it comes to services, there's different services you can get here. What I shared with you, I would charge like $99 for in a session I call Create Like God Challenge, where we look at the 7 principles in detail and then we apply them to your businesses in a specific way. Although it's in a group setting. If you want to do something similar for you, just you, then I have brand sessions at $297. Actually, it's 2 hours, not 1 hour, because I want to make sure I cover everything. Then by the end of the session, you have a brand strategy, you have like documentation to even make communication easier. One of the things that slow down businesses is that don't have a communicated vision across everybody. Like everybody doesn't know what everybody needs to be doing, right? Everybody doesn't have the vision. So if you can document it, it's easier that way. And yeah, anyways, this is what I am selling for free anyways. Level Up free brand strategy session. If you book this session with the code, I won't tell you the code because if I tell you the code, then you won't join the WhatsApp group. But you know what? Maybe I should just share the code. Should I share the code or not? What do you guys think?
Yeah, share the code, please.
Okay. If you book this session using the code Level Up 2024 caps, all caps, Level Up 2024, then you won't have to pay the 300. You just pay $0. And then depending on which date you choose or you book for, I'm going to have a one-on-one session with you for 1 hour going over your dream this year. And I'm going to share with you like an outline, a practical outline on how you can level up your goals and your dreams this 2024. So that's it for me. Once again, my name is Neo the Greatest, which means God is the greatest. He's the GOAT. He's the greatest of all times. And I am here to help you guys create with clarity, with confidence and competence using Christ's method. Because Christ is the Word who was at the beginning, who created all these things. And so we are forever grateful for what He has done for us. As the Bible says, He's worthy of all praise and worship because He made everything. So if there's no more question, I'm going to go back to my lovely music, which I don't know where it is now. Where is my lovely music? There it is. And I just want to thank you guys for being here. And I am going to see you in the sessions that you book for the one-on-one sessions. So thank you all for being here tonight. It means a lot. Go out there and create like God does, and you'll never regret that you did, because you were created to create and you are so much more than you think. Do not let the devil deceive you to think you are too small, too insignificant, or that you can't make any impact on earth. God has actually created you to make an impact, not just in your city, not just in your family, but to make a global impact. So go out there and do what God has called you to do and to become. Thank you all. Have a good night.